Commission meeting, September 17th. It is now 7:15, starting a little late for rescuing a fellow farmer in distress. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. As Hank was just explaining, we do not have last month's minutes. We will be getting those minutes and review them for the next meeting.
Well, I was talking to Kevin,
Yeah.
and he tells me that, well, he gave me a link. I mean, they were on TV almost immediately.
Right.
And so I can go back on the link for the last month and
And get the meeting.
get the minutes. I'll have them for the next meeting.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Hank.
Thank you. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is the Lakeville Music and Arts Festival. We need to figure out who can attend. I can show up in the morning and help set everything up and spend a little bit of time there, but not very long.
Yeah, I can't because I'm committed to Historical Commission every single year.
At the same festival.
Yeah, same festival.
Yeah.
So,
When is that?
October 5th.
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
Let me see if there's any soccer.
And
October 5th.
It's from 10 to 4?
yeah, it's 10 to 4.
10 to 4, I think.
Yeah, with earlier setup. I'm there in the morning to set stuff up, but as far as I know, I'm working that day.
Okay.
So I don't know. If something changes, I'll be happy to spend the day doing stuff. But
Okay.
I don't, at this point in time, I think I'm working. But our schedule is day to day, so.
All right. I know Jared's not going to be there.
Oh, he's not.
Oh, that's too bad. He had great.
Well, everything that Jared had is going to be there.
Oh,
His daughter Emma is bringing it. So I'm going to be helping her bring the stockade fence and help her unload the animals and set up and so on. Emma is also the president of the Flying Hooves 4-H Horse Club for Lakeville. So they're going to share the booth with us. They're going to be right
That's
next
great.
to us.
That's a great idea.
She's going to
Excellent.
be right there for that as well. So I'll see, I don't know if any of you would be able to attend it.
I have something else going on that day, but I'm going to try to get out of it, okay?
All right, let me know.
I will.
I'll send a text message to Tracy and Paul and see if they'll be able to help out.
What are we going to do there?
Basically, we're going to be there to explain what we're trying to do with the Ag Commission.
Okay.
You know, support agriculture, try and promote it within the town, get a farmer's market up and running, and the right to farm bylaw.
And they bring, what did Jared bring last year, a pony?
Yeah, he brought a miniature
mini?
horse,
Yeah.
and
Horse.
they have 2 goats.
Two goats.
That they're bringing this time.
They're very
So
genial.
the booth was very popular with families.
It was very
It
popular
was
last
mobbed.
year.
Mobbed by families and kids.
All the whole time.
Which
And
is
it's from what time to what time?
well, I believe we're going to be setting up at 7 a.m. But it actually runs from 10 to 4 on October 5th.
I could probably do part of the day
Okay.
because my husband will be home and I don't have anything for soccer that day. So, okay, like wherever you need me, either like late morning, afternoon, I could probably do
Yeah,
that.
we're just there
Great.
trying to show a presence and get some exposure out there.
Okay.
And
Maybe I could print something up about farmers market because I've been doing research on that.
have you?
I have.
Yay.
Everybody I've been talking to about it is so excited about the idea of having a farmer's market here in town.
It's going to be good.
And I think I'm also going to try and reach out and see if I can get some more volunteers for 4-H leadership for different clubs. So the horse club is going fantastic.
Yeah.
They made $1,200 on their
Excellent.
fundraiser sale.
Did they?
Yeah.
At the yard sale?
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. So
I was most
amazing.
impressed that they had a band, 4-H band
oh really?
in Middleborough.
Oh, Middleborough has a 4-H.
I didn't realize that.
Wow.
It was like a little rock band. It was great.
Wow.
Oh, was they at the
At the fair?
fairground?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, in Middleborough.
Yeah.
You know, the little, yeah.
For their Labor Day weekend fair.
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
Oh, yeah?
East
Yeah,
Middleborough.
going to 4-H Horse Club there.
Yeah.
in East Middleborough.
Can I just, one more thing about the Arts and Music Festival?
Mm-hmm.
I was bugging people about maybe doing a scarecrow, because they call it Scarecrow Row up by the old town hall. And I know Tracy and Paul had made a scarecrow in years past. I'd be happy to make one for the AdCom.
Okay.
And I just wanted to run by the idea that I had for it and see if you all think it's okay. And if it isn't, please tell me. I thought I'd make something that's like the committee and all the hats that the commission wears. So maybe a few bales of hay representing a table, and then some scarecrow torsos around with different hats on, and one is Right to Farm bylaw, one is Farmers Market, one is farmers helping farmers, you
That's a
know,
great
and
idea.
different things like that. So whatever ideas you have that
That's
would
a good idea.
be good representatives
Great
around the
idea.
table, just
Sounds
please
like a lot of work.
inform me. It's fun.
You need some,
It'll be
like,
fun.
you know, extra,
I
you know,
have-
like large, tall, 3XLT clothes. For the chairman.
I don't know if there'll be proper representations of the commission. Yeah. I'll try.
If you
Yeah.
need some chaff for bulk, be glad to give it to you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and you can get all that.
You can see,
out,
you can see that tomorrow.
Alrighty. Yeah, I don't know how I'll fill that up. Yeah, we do need one extremely tall, broad-shouldered man.
And one slightly taller if Paul's going to be in it.
Yeah.
He's got me by a couple
Really?
inches or an inch and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
So that's okay. And if you have any ideas, just email me or let me know.
I did print out that form for the scarecrow, and I gave it to Nancy Kitchen for
Thank you.
4-H West Club.
Great.
And I'll shoot off an email to remind her about it.
Thanks. It looks like we'll have a good group of scarecrows this year.
Yeah, that'd be great. And as far as the tents and tables, I spoke to Paul, and we can borrow his tent. And if he doesn't have a table that we can use, I have a folding table that we can use, and I got a banner I can put up too. So,
Yeah, if you need two, I have one.
the table, yeah,
Yeah, I have a table too.
yep. And some chairs would probably be a good idea too.
Okay.
That way we're not standing around all the time, but I have some folding chairs I can bring, so I get that covered.
Oh, okay. I could do that too.
Well, let me know if you need the table, and I'll just,
Okay, I think we're all set with the table and the
So-
chairs. I just got to reach out to Paul and verify on the
Okay.
tent.
Hopefully we'll have gorgeous weather.
I don't know, I hate to say this, but it seems like every time it rains.
Except for last year.
Last year.
Last
yeah.
Last year was
nice.
beautiful.
My mother always
Couple years
volunteers,
ago.
and she's always like, comes to my house later, and she's always like, windswept.
Yeah.
I'm like, were you standing out there in the rain?
All right, is there anything else on the fair?
Festival, no?
On the festival? Nothing else? Okay. Right to farm bylaw. So I think we got the bylaw nailed. And now we have to
So
bring
I
it.
spoke to the town clerk who sent me to the town administrator, and she said for you to send her an email and tell her that we want to discuss the right to farm bylaw, and she will give it to Tracy McGee. And she'll put it on the agenda for the selectmen, then we have to go talk to the selectmen about it. And then I think from there we have to go to the planning board because they do the bylaws. But our first step is to meet with the selectmen.
Okay.
And then we go on from there.
What night did the selectmen meet? Is it Monday?
Usually.
Usually Mondays.
Do they meet every Monday?
Every 2 or 3
I was
weeks.
gonna say, I thought it was every other.
Yes, yeah, it's usually every other. Sometimes they have meetings in between when things come up.
Did
Okay.
Penn depending on, it's just a thought, depending on how that falls, would we want to consider a large showing from the AgCom at the selectmen's
At the
meeting?
selectmen meeting?
Oh, I think the more people that go from the committee, the
better.
better, yeah,
more
I
of
think
us that
so.
could attend, just
Yeah.
to kind of,
To support it.
Not just you
Yeah.
and me, but everybody, or as
Yeah.
many as we can get, I think, so.
just like
I
we're
agree.
all behind this, we all think it's really important,
Absolutely.
and our presence
I
there.
agree.
might help push that through.
And then the next step would be the signs. All right, so I'll send an email off to the town administrator. And I'll throw a copy of the right to farm bylaw on
Yeah,
that,
exactly,
so. Okay, I'll take care of that tomorrow.
great.
If nothing else on the right to farm, the farmer's market,
Okay.
which is one I'm very excited about.
Me too.
Crystal's been doing that.
I have been doing a lot of research. That research is my thing. Also, grants is also my thing. So I went on the state website and I found a contact on there where they have all these different grants. We wouldn't get anything until 2020. But
Is this for
the farmer's market. I reached out to see if there was anything out there, any grants we could possibly apply for to help a small community to start a farmer's market. And I said to her, if there isn't any grants, is there anyone who could advise from the state? Because a lot of times they'll be like, oh, you can talk to so-and-so,
Yeah.
and they would help you. So I'm waiting to hear back from that person.
Okay.
But when I also went on here, there's just, there's a lot of info. Obviously, there's a demand for it. I don't think we have to do any type of canvassing or market research. But one thing that stuck out in my mind was when you have people sell, how are they going to sell? Because if they use scales, we're going to have someone come in
Right, and certify the scales.
and certify each scale. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. If people would sell by, like 4 for $1 or 5 for $1, whatever, that would make life, I think, a lot easier.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the going way of.
Right. But that was just one thing. I was like, oh no, then we'd have to pay someone to come in and.
And they'll have to put their sticker on there.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Weights and measures.
Yep.
And is it definitely going to be at Ted Williams?
It looks like the most likely prospect.
Yeah, we haven't nailed down that, but we did get permission for also Dicker and Daring, but over there, we'd have to
Yeah.
supply porta potties, and we'd have to get a police detail, so they can cross back and forth.
Yeah, we would.
And I honestly think that Ted Williams would probably be the best place. And a lot
I
of
think
families
so.
go there, for the sports and
Right,
so
well,
on.
that's what I was thinking for the sports, because I know there's a lot of soccer
Yep,
and,
baseball.
do they do baseball over there?
Baseball,
So,
football,
Yeah, football.
football and cheerleaders were
Cheerleading.
there this afternoon.
Yeah.
right. What day would be a good day?
Well, that's part of what I've been looking at too.
Right.
I don't mean to interfere with what you're doing.
No, of course not. I need as much help as I can get.
So I'm just gonna
Since I'm
give-
doing this for free, I don't want
These,
to.
everybody would take one of those. It's just the top of it is
Thank you.
stuff that I've been looking at. And then the page underneath is the form that Karen Blair had used for the Middleborough Farmers Market. What I did on the little cover page, the top of it is things that I've looked at on her form that I think we may need to change for our form, but I didn't want to just up and do stuff until we all had a chance to look at it and think what we thought might be best. So on the front, on that first page, the first thing I've highlighted is the fee for electricity. I don't know that we're going to have an expense for electricity.
Yeah.
Do we need to charge people for that?
I don't think so.
And do we need, we're not renting the space. The Park Commission has agreed to just let us use the space as long as we're outside. So what type of fees do we want to consider for the vendors for a seasonal fee or a weekly fee? And then she has part of this as this being a contract. The next thing is on that front page, just up from the bottom. I have read, understand, and will comply with the farmers market rules and regulations. So then I'm thinking, oh, we better compose some rules and regs
Right.
and consider what we need those to be. So maybe you have a lot of information on that in the state site, I don't know.
Right, and they had talked about, are people gonna have to have insurance? Now, I know when I do craft shows, I always get insurance because I never know when something is gonna happen.
Right.
Are we gonna require people to have insurance if they're coming, or are we just gonna?
We're still waiting, and I'll call the town tomorrow again and see what I can find out. We're waiting to hear from the administrator about, because we're a town commission, we'd be on town property, what would be required, and nobody's been able to answer that yet, so I'll get in touch with them again tomorrow and see if they can give us any further information about
Right.
that, because that'll
Okay.
impact maybe getting a grant or what the
Right.
fees are
Right.
going to be, if we have some expense to incur
Right.
because of insurances.
I know that we haven't received a definite on it, but the consensus for some of the people that we have talked to thinks that the town's insurance would cover,
That seems to be what they're saying.
but we need to find out definitely.
But I only say to have that in writing.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just finished paralegal school. Everything needs to be in writing. Yeah, so that.
And then so just maybe give a look at both sides of that form and let me know what you think of it. Where on the back side where she said list others here, I made a little note that I would like the vendor to write just a little brief, just a blurb about what their product or service is. Just something, 1 or 2 lines.
Right.
Just so we have that, because as I was going through the information that Karen provided to us through this form, I found that with the vendor's name and the business name or the farm name, you couldn't always tell
What their
What
product
the
just
selling.
what it was. And I did a lot of searching online for individuals' names, because that might be the only thing we had to go with, or the name of what they were doing. And so I thought it would just be nice to have that out there, so when we advertise the market, we have just this little something that says, this is the best goat's milk soap,
Right.
on the South Coast, or something like that.
Right.
And it's all made from this or that, or I grow my own grapes, and however it works. So those are the thoughts I had on this form. And then on the second part of this cover page, just looking at the most recent publication from CMAP that has the farmers markets, area farmers markets on it. Those are the seasons, so most of them are running just basically summer and the first part of the fall, and the days that they run and the times. So looking at the ones most nearby us in Plymouth County, Carver is Saturday, there's one in Middleborough on Saturday, and there's one in Middleborough on Sunday. Wareham is Thursday. I know Plymouth is also Thursday. Would we want to consider Friday? I don't know. When I've been to Ted Williams Camp on Friday in the afternoon to the early evening, it's mobbed with sports families.
It is.
And I don't know if that's the best thing to do, to figure, they're playing soccer, so they're going to buy, things from the farmer's market, but they're there. And
Right.
I don't, just an idea. I don't know what people think. Or is that a good time? Is Friday not a good time? We want to get done playing soccer and we want to just,
Go home. Yeah.
yeah, or hit the grocery store and we're all eating out, or,
Right. Well, I think either way, I think actually having families go there for the sports and so on is going to be a benefit. I'm not sure. I mean, Friday looks like it's only taken by Dartmouth.
Yeah, for things nearby us.
But the other thing too is that if we do have it on Friday, I think the time frame of when It would possibly be busy, it would be a very small window between like 4 PM and 6 PM.
What about, because Carver and Middleborough, theirs are in the morning. What if we did it in the afternoon?
A Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, or like a late morning into the afternoon. Because this is like 9:30 to 1, 9 to 1.
Yeah.
What if we did like, I don't know, like a
10 to 3.
10 to 3, 10 to 4,
11 to
something like
3.
that.
Yeah, we could do that.
Too, because it would only overlap just like a little bit.
And I'm looking at most of the length of time. I mean, there are a couple that are 5 hours long, but mostly they're about between 3 and 4 hours.
Right.
Right. And especially starting off, I think we don't want to make people overextend if they're
Right.
coming to vend. If it has to gain some momentum, I think not that I am a vendor, but if I was and I came to the market and I had to sit there for 5 or 6 hours, waiting a few months for this thing to gain momentum,
Right.
I might
Right.
become discouraged.
Right. Well,
And if I was only giving up 3 or 4 hours, it might not be so bad.
Right.
maybe something like a Saturday 10 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
And then if it's,
Yeah.
a big hit, you could always say, okay, what do you guys think about doing an hour earlier or an hour later? You know,
If this isn't enough time to sell all the stuff
Right.
that people want to buy from you.
right. Now, what if we have people who sell more than one thing? Because I know my husband's all excited because he just harvested, well, I should say, I just bottled all the honey this past week and we had, just with 2 hives, we have a ton of honey. We have at
Really?
least 60 pounds worth of
Wow.
honey.
Nice.
What if, I wouldn't be doing it, he can go sell his honey, would take all the kids with him, and then say, you decided you wanted to sell honey too, so do we just take you and I'll be here and you could be there? Would that be fair?
I think.
Or do you want to limit to like one person? Something,
Yeah.
I think
just,
part of having the form with all the information on it is to figure out that.
right,
Well,
You don't
that will
want
give us the
conflicts.
information, but do we
Do you want conflicts?
allow, well,
And do we allow someone from Lakeville with honey as opposed to someone from Bridgewater with honey?
Right.
right. Well, I think, my personal opinion, Lakeville would take priority.
Me too,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what we're here
It was a
for.
Lakeville
Right.
Farmers Market.
I agree.
Right, exactly, I
You know.
agree.
I absolutely agree.
But what do we do? Do we say no? No, you can't sell your honey here, we already have a honey vendor? I think that's probably, we'd talk to Karen
You might ask
and
Karen
get some
on that,
insight
Okay.
on that.
Yeah.
So, really, the questions we've been asking ourselves and the answers we've been coming up with is usually what's been done by the manager. And we have not actually come down and committed. Are we managing this ourselves?
this is another thing here. And they called it a market master, and I thought that was hysterical, of how much they think that a market master would be a benefit, but I also see it as being a deficit as far as money is concerned. Because the amount of money you're gonna have to pay someone to do this, I think is, it says here, you might want to get someone because a volunteer is unlikely to be aggressive about recruiting farmers or promoting consumers. Really, I
Well,
think we're all committed to this.
that's the thing with us. We're all volunteers. But would be aggressive on it because we want to see it succeed.
Exactly.
The only downfall is that we're going to have AgCom members committed to actually, proceeding this. I don't know how much is involved in it. I imagine somebody's going to have to be there at setup time to,
It probably,
And breakdown time.
at least,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that probably somebody the entire, because you never know when something wrong might pop up.
Right.
But like I said,
Difficulty or.
I don't have a problem doing this, and I volunteered last time, and I'll volunteer again. Because I'm really into this. I really want this to succeed, and I'd really rather sell everything that we make, because I make soap. I've been making candles with the beeswax, and now like we've got, we're getting more hives, so there'll be more stuff that I'm gonna make. Of course, I'll send my husband to sell it, but I will probably be there. I have no problem in being there going, okay, you go here, you go there. As long as there's someone to help me to promote this. My husband knows how into this I am, and him being the computer guy, he's always making me forms for everything. And I don't have a problem doing this as long as I can get some help. So, if I have to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is just right down the street from my house, because I'm on Bedford Street, I have a problem with that. It's 3 hours of my life that I think is positive. I would like to see the farmers in this town succeed. There are so many people, and I have 30 chickens, that's me. That's my farm, that and bees. But, I just think it's such a wonderful thing. I would love to live off the grid if we could, but no.
Yeah.
We have more computers than people in my house, so now that's what I'm
Well, you could still live off the grid with a computer.
Yeah, as long as you have enough solar panels.
Yeah.
Or a lot of bicycles.
Yeah.
To get my kids on
There you
that,
go.
especially my 16-year-olds.
That's what kids are for.
Get them treadling. So I'll check with Karen about that to see what she's doing about training people around. And I'm happy to do whatever support I can. I have no idea what type of work, what is entailed, but I'm happy to help.
Once we get the insurance and figuring out, liability and everything like that, I think, and just making up rules, and if you don't like the rules, then see you later.
Do you, but on the state website, did they sort of have a suggestion about rules and regulations or some sort of?
Not really. They just left it up to you to what you would have for rules, what you wanted to do.
So that's something we should.
Right. There's also things here for SNAP, as
Right.
for food stamps, and I'm thinking, no, we're not at that point right now.
There are some farmers that have them anyway, though.
Yes.
And it might be nice to see if we could engage some of those farmers.
We could,
Participate.
but that's a whole nother thing that we'd have to apply for and have
Oh, okay.
because
Separate
in
money.
order to accept SNAP benefits, you have to be able to accept debit. And wireless terminals, these machines range from 600 to 1,200.
Right.
Now, I believe Elliott's Farm already accepts it.
The SNAP. Yeah, and I think Freitas in Middlebury does too.
Yeah, so,
So they're already set up, so that
Yeah,
would be
set up
their
for a long time.
responsibility to bring that to the market. It wouldn't
It
really
would
be the
be.
market's responsibility.
right.
but they would need internet.
Right. But they have Wi-Fi over there at Ted Williams, right? They must.
They might.
Yeah. So we try that. But
That's a good question.
we can get a grant for that as I just read down the page. So,
It might take me installing a Wi-Fi extender to get it out from
Indoors to outdoors.
Loon Pond Lodge. But the nice thing is Loon Pond Lodge is right across from where they were suggesting that we put the farmer's market.
Right.
So if we put an outdoor Wi-Fi extender, which I can set up myself. Yeah.
Oh, seriously.
Half my week is IT, the other half is farming.
and how much are we gonna have for space?
We have, there's lots and lots of space there.
Yeah.
What Karen had described for her vendors is 15 by 15, and she said that that was a large amount of space which people liked.
Right. Because I'm used to, for craft shows and stuff, you get 12 by 12.
Yeah.
And you just kind
And
of
they're really
keep it in your 12 by 12
And we
tent,
don't-
and
yeah, I
people
don't-
get upset when you go outside that little boundary.
Yeah, I don't see that we need to be that restrictive.
Okay.
No.
We've got.
You have plenty of space.
Yeah,
When we talk.
So there's just plenty of space, we don't have to like line people up and make sure everybody's for, okay,
No.
so that's
No,
When
good.
we talked to the park commission, we were talking about possibly using, so Loon Pond Lodge is there, and across the drive from that is a little public toilet, flagpole, and a fairly large field they use for football practice a little bit and cheerleaders sometimes.
But that's also set quite a ways away from the road.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we wouldn't even
yeah.
be encroaching on that
No.
with a large amount of vendors.
And then even if it was toward the back of that space near the garage, that attached building has handicapped accessible public toilets.
Yep.
So,
Because that was another thing they talked
Yeah.
about here is handicap accessibility.
Yeah.
And I knew that they had it over at the
yeah,
lodge, so
they-
perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
We spoke on the times,
Right.
10 to 2.
10 to 2?
Good.
The months, I see the majority of them is like June
Yeah.
through October, or is that June to
It
October?
varies a little bit. Well, it was into October. Some of them were early October, some of them were through almost to the end of the month.
Right.
And it wasn't the first part of June, it was,
Yeah,
into
like in the
June.
middle.
Actually, I have it right here. Be more specific.
Because I can really see a lot of fall things, like selling of pumpkins
Right.
and,
Gourds.
what's that?
Gourds.
Gourds
Winter
and,
squash.
bundles of corn stalks and
Yeah, everything.
there's just a lot of other craft things that could be sold at that time, and
Yeah.
Now, what about advertising? I know we could go on the Lakeville website, but
Well, Karen Blair said she'd put it on her website too. She
Yeah.
has a lot of contacts.
Ton of contacts. Yeah. I'm just looking really quickly at these. One is June 1st, September 15th, June 23rd to October 27th.
because I know the state has a,
Well, Middleborough was at October 12th and October 13th.
when did it start?
Yeah. End of June
End of
on
June?
both of
June.
those. Carver's June 9th to the end of October. So they vary. It may have to do too with the vendors you're bringing in. you know.
Right.
Yes.
Make sure they have what it is they're gonna have ready.
So something for a ballpark figure that can be adjusted depending on the vendors and so on, June 15th, to October 15th?
Okay. June 15th, October 15th.
and are we going to have
Take.
the seasonal fee and the weekly fee? Is that something that, because I know one here, like
Right.
here, and I know,
And that's what I wanted to
Unless
get
they
folks'
talked about it.
feedback about. I think it's really important to have consistency in the vendors who are there, so that, people know that are gonna come every week, and Fred with the spinach is gonna be there.
Right.
And he's not only gonna be there once in a great while, he's gonna be there every time I need spinach.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with, we'll come up with a weekly, and then from that figure,
Go on from there.
we'll go on from there and figure out, times that by how many Saturdays are between June 15th and October 15th, and then deduct it so they get a break on the cost for
Right.
paying for the full amount.
Okay.
I mean, I think we need both, because, there's gonna be some vendors that are like crafters and so on, that wanna sell their handmade goods and so on, but, they don't have enough time to craft consistently to be there every
Every
single
single
Saturday, so,
So I have to be a little flexible about that.
right. And that also brings up the other question, how much we charging?
I know, that's why I left it that way, because we don't have expenses that other people might have.
Right.
But we don't want to make it a giveaway, so one of the things I was saying, for the first season, did we maybe want to look at what we think the expenses will be, and maybe for the first season, just to kick it off a little better, say, for opening season,
Right.
we're having a lesser fee, I don't know.
Right.
just to encourage people to participate.
Right.
I agree with that.
I don't know what that would be.
Well, looks like Karen charged 18. I don't know what other surrounding farm markets are charging. We probably have to find that out in order to get a good idea of what we should charge.
Yeah.
And do we want to give Lakeville residents a break on the cost?
I like
That's a good
that.
idea.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I vote for that.
Yeah.
Crystal, you'd be able to do a little research and find out what the surrounding farmers markets are charging per
Sure.
slot?
No problem.
I'd like to mention that this Saturday, Round the Bend Farm down in Dartmouth is having an open farm day, and that's kind of goes along these ideas here. If anyone would like to attend and take a look at what they're doing,
Get some ideas.
yeah.
This-
And we might be able to get, well, I'll try to talk to some of the people there,
Some of the vendors.
some of the vendors, and see if they're interested or if they know anybody.
Right.
Yeah, they have a lot around the bend.
Round the Bend is taking more and more outsiders in, and they have 200 or 300 people.
Wow.
Well,
They're down by the Holy Ghost and on the Dartmouth Westport line.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you punch in Round the Bend, you can see them on the computer.
Yeah, I think they're in CMAP. I think they're part of CMAP.
And I'll be working there tomorrow anyway.
it's your daughter's farm, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a nonprofit, but
Yeah.
her and my son, the son is a chief cook and bottle washer. She's the director.
Because they're a nonprofit organization. Oh, they're done.
And I know the state advertises on their website as to what farmer's market is when. I don't know if that's free or would you pay for that? That would be great advertising.
Yeah, and Karen also mentioned she would help out with the advertisement too.
Yeah.
when she was here.
On her website and stuff. There they are, round the bend. I was doing a round the bend.
Now for vendors, what I would like to see, eventually, is farmers selling their vegetables and their fruits. People who are involved with crafting, soap making, candles, canning, things of that nature, local live music. I would like to see there. Stuff for the kids, face painting.
Yes.
Artists selling their paintings. I'd like to see a broad range.
I would too.
As far as vendors that we don't want there, the only thing I can think of is anyone who would be selling something that is not handmade, that's commercially made. So you don't have people buying stuff off of eBay or Amazon and reselling. Is there anything else you can think of that you would not want there?
Tupperware. That is like my thing. That just, whenever someone goes to like a craft fair and they're there selling Tupperware, it
That would
burns
be
me.
That'd be placed
Like, you know, it's like,
Commercially, produced business.
Avon.
Yeah.
in Avon, and they're like, we
Yeah.
have free samples.
What else is there?
Yeah.
As I'm selling my homemade, like,
That's what your goat soap, your
yeah, my
honey
goat soap,
exactly.
the honey, and yeah. Or my, mind your beeswax.
I can't think of
Lip
anything
balm.
else. I believe the state is actually working on a law to allow craft brewers to sell at farmers markets.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was thinking that there are some places that have been licensed to do that in the state, but I might be wrong about that.
I don't think
Not
so.
yet, yeah.
I mean, it's been a little bit since I read about the law that they're trying to push through, so I'd have to actually look that up.
When you think about it, it's sort of like the prohibition against alcohol outdoors in a public space.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Of course, I don't know how the town would feel about us using their property for craft brewers.
And
That might be
during sporting events for the kids.
Kids,
Yeah.
That might be down the road a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they would definitely not be allowing anyone to drink what they bought, but
No, no,
okay to
just
buy it, but take it
a
home.
container of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I had looked into that because I also make wine. And I said to my husband, I said, ugh, we have to spend this much money and do this because everybody's like, Crystal, I'll buy it from you. I'm like, you can't buy it because it's against the law and I'm not going to jail for, this.
You're bootlegging.
Right. So, and then it was like, you could also get a license to have people taste the wine. And it was like you had to have 2 separate licenses. And I was just like, no, I'm good. I'll just give it away as I do for Christmas presents. We'll just
There
get
you
it that
go.
way.
Yeah.
It's much cheaper.
Makes sense.
Okay, so no commercially made products.
Yep.
Anything else you can think of?
Just trying to think, what else would there be?
I think that probably covers it very
Covers,
broad.
yeah,
It's a
it
broad
covers all
spectrum.
all those
Yeah.
bits. And that can be part of our rules and regulations.
I was just going to say, yeah, rules. And, a big thing is people cleaning up after themselves.
Yeah.
Yep,
I know,
good plan.
imagine the majority of the vendors will probably be pretty good about that.
Yep.
I would
You know,
think so.
Yep. Absolutely.
A lot of
but,
families coming through buying stuff, especially with little kids. I imagine stuff's gonna end up on the
On the
ground.
ground.
Yep.
One thing we need to make sure that we have is plenty of trash barrels around.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, we need to go around and do a trash check.
Yes.
And I got no problem with
No problem.
I
doing
can-
that,
Yeah,
so.
that can be me.
All right, so just to kind of recap, Crystal is going to check and see what other people are charging for the slots, for the locations of the vendors per week.
Yeah.
And Crystal said she was going to volunteer to help manage it.
Thank you.
Although I would like to see one more person, to have 2 people
I
help
will
out with
be her
that.
assistant.
Okay.
Here we go.
We're a team.
We're a team. 1 and 1A. There we go.
And that's,
That was good, second chair.
that money would actually help out with our budget. So since we
It sure
don't really
would.
have one.
I'm thinking maybe we can get enough money, we can offer scholarships.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be
Agricultural
awesome.
school.
That would be awesome.
It would.
I have big dreams of you.
Big dreams, big, large, good large dreams.
Based on agriculture.
Based on
Yes.
agriculture, absolutely.
Yep. I'll check with the town to see if we can find out anything about insurance.
Right.
And what was the other thing I was going to say? And I'll ask about Wi-Fi in Loon Pond Lodge.
Okay.
When we were at the Park Commission meeting, was that last week? Was that July?
That was,
August? Recently,
I'm not sure, I don't remember.
they asked
July.
us to come back in the fall when we knew more.
Okay.
Do we know enough yet, or do we want to wait a little longer and know more before we go and talk to them? Or should I just run by some of the things we've thought of, like
Let's just-
Saturdays from June to October, mid-month?
Yeah, well, actually, we don't know, and, we don't have specifics on the details on like what we're charging and so on, but I think we do have enough to bring to them.
Okay.
And I think I'm sure they're gonna have some concerns and questions and so on. And as long as it doesn't fall on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think it's a Tuesday, right? Their meetings?
Is it Tuesday? It was
I think
it was
so.
early in the week. Maybe it was
Yeah.
a Monday or Tuesday.
I'll go with you
Okay,
and talk to them.
okay. Do you want me to get in touch to put us on the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay.
My question is, when do we want to start this farmer's market? Is it something for 2020, or is it something that's, we're just gonna push out?
Personally speaking, I'd like to see it start next year.
Okay.
2020?
I think so.
Second.
It gives us plenty of time to get
It gives us
everything in
9
place.
months.
This is 9 months.
I think we
Okay.
have enough time to
I think so.
get things sorted out.
Get t-shirts.
Hats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely.
Oh, and I also, before we leave this topic, I also spoke to the 4-H club, and they're interested in having a booth at the farmer's market.
Well, they
Oh, that's
should.
great.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Okay, so anything else on the farmer's
I
market?
think that's covered a lot of ground.
We spent a
So it
long
sounded
time
pretty
on
good.
farmers
Yeah.
market.
It sounded great.
Yeah, I'm more excited about it than the excitement I had for it previously.
Didn't know that was possible, did you?
Well, that's good.
All right, on to the next. And this is actually something that Hank brought up. How to support and expand agriculture within the town, such as grants. And
I'm on it.
you're on it. We actually have one of the founding members, Ian Ward. That's what he does for a living, is helping farmers with grants. As everyone knows, putting in for a state or a federal grant is a huge amount of paperwork. So I actually, I reached out to him about 2.5 weeks ago and asked him if we can just get together over a cup of coffee, and because I wanted to bend his ear on what grants are available. That unfortunately did not happen between me getting ready for harvest and I think Ian being involved in other stuff. It didn't happen. So he is definitely the resource that we need to talk to
Great.
about this. And I think once we find out what's available for grants, I don't want the Ag Commission to get involved in filling out the paperwork for the people. Just show them what's
Point them in
available.
the right direction.
in the right
Right.
direction. And if they have any problems, they can contact Ian, because that's what he does.
That's what he does.
Does he work with SARE, or
I'm sorry?
who does he work, what organization does he work with?
He's got his own
Oh, it's
business.
his own thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a consultation company that helps with grants.
Well, that's what I was looking up earlier today when all the kids were taking a nap, is you just have to put in for it early. There's lots of stuff from the state, lots of different things, lots of things you can get for protection, for like tractor rollovers, and I was looking at all these little different things. I was like, oh, the more I clicked on, the more I found. And then, like I said, I threw it out to that person. I'm like, can we get a grant to start our farmer's market? You know, something. Give me something.
Right.
And if you can't tell me, then who can? Because there's got to be something out there. So I'll keep digging.
So we can be the resource for that sort of information for folks in town.
So, yeah, so if they want to start
Pass
up,
that along.
you know, if they want to have an addition of a greenhouse or start a farm,
Right.
they can.
Oh, I found that
pursue.
today.
Yeah.
I found a grant for
there's a lot
starting
of
a
grants
farm.
out there.
Yes, it was, but it
They
closed already.
They all have, right, they all have a lot of time frames that,
Yeah.
paperwork
Right.
has to be submitted by. And that's something else that we should find out as well.
Yeah.
And I think Ian would be a valuable resource on that one.
Do you want me to print up or send you a link?
No, I get all the links at home.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just so much that's out there. And there's also a lot out there they're not listed all on the same page.
Right.
You have
You
to
know,
dig for them.
You have to
Yeah.
dig for them,
Right.
because you get federal-backed ones, and you get state-backed ones. And then you also, I'm not sure on this, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there's, like corporation-backed ones,
They probably are.
you know.
Yeah.
And the other idea I had, and I spoke to John Powderly about this, the chairman of the selectmen, The towns has a lot of a lot of town-owned land that's not being used for anything. And I ran the idea by him of what he thought of working with FFA and utilizing that town land for not so much as a kid, but someone who's like getting out of Bristol Aggie or a young adult or something, get them started with farming on town property. And kind of give them a break at first on, on what they would pay the town until they get up and running. And then once they have a fully production, producing, then they could pay so much to the town for the use of the land. But there's a lot of questions involved in that. He loved the idea. But how long do you allow someone like that to go? Because it's not their property, it's the town's property, and
That's the
it
thing.
has to get to a certain point where, all right, so you've been producing vegetables and you've been selling at the Lakeville Farmers Market and making some money and creating a nest egg. They'll eventually have to go and, start their own farm that they have dreamed about. But with the added benefit of having to create a nest egg, and then once they move on, we can get another FFA member in, for Future Farmers of
That's
America.
interesting.
So, but
Would future farmers cover that for insurance? That's a big problem
Yeah.
on doing something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good
If they
question.
have to pay the insurance themselves, they're gonna go broke,
Right, that is a very good question. And if somebody's walking the property and gets hurt,
right?
who's liable? Yeah. So, I didn't say it was the best idea in the world.
But it was a good idea.
Well,
I think
it's a great
really good
idea. It's a great idea. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it has a lot of different sticky aspects to it that have to be figured out in order for it to work.
There's so much property in the town that's not good farmland. Do you have in mind particular spots that belong to the town that might work well?
No, I don't, because that was the other thing too, is I'm gonna have to find out where these parcels of land are and drive around and look at them. And I bet you quite a few of them are landlocked.
Can't even get to them.
Yeah, so they'd be out,
Yeah.
That's funny, you'd think there'd have to be some sort of right of way.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there isn't necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. So, and that's probably a lot of the reasons why the land is donated to the town, because it's landlocked and can't be used.
Right.
So it's,
I think if you looked at the town open space plan, you would find the town-owned parcels, a list of the town-owned parcels, which you would find out, I'll do that, I'll research that, because the open space plan had a section about town-owned parcels of land and where they were, and how many acres they were, so we can check that out.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
When I was managing Crapo Hill landfill, we were baling about 1,000, 1,500 bales a year and selling them to the neighbors and also giving them to the neighbors that couldn't afford them because they were close to a landfill too,
Right.
And when I left, they stopped that immediately because no one had the ambition to do it. So they wanted to hire someone to do it, but the insurance was so overwhelming that no one could bid it.
Right.
Wow.
And that's just people with all their own equipment.
Yeah. But because it's municipal land.
I have to have insurance to do the haying at Hilltop, I have to pay my own insurance
For the trustee's
for
property.
the trustee's property, yeah.
Okay, so to summarize that one, I will reach out to Ian and see what's available for grants.
Oh, we're not looking at, I'm looking at the open space plan.
Okay, all right, that'd be a good start to that. And I think that's it, unless we have any other business that anyone wants to bring up? Any other ideas? Any comments? All right. So anyone like to make a motion to close the meeting?
I moved to close the meeting.
I
Second.
Adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.